There's a storm across the valley. The clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder.
Welcome to Community Forum. My name is Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, your host for Community Forum. Today is October 30th, 2020, during COVID times, and it's the first day of snow. So we are here a little frozen but defrosting at the moment. And with me at the Ames Memorial Hall, our special hall designed by Henry Hobson Richardson, one of 5 of his magnificent designs in the town of Easton. And so we welcome Freddie Ames,
Hello.
who is of the illustrious and notorious Ames family, and Joan Ludgrin, who is
Hello.
the rental agent extraordinaire. And so welcome to all of you, and welcome Freddie and Joan.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to be here.
Yes, it is. And
Good to have you here.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to the origins of this building, and if you'd give us a little background.
Sure, let me start. Okay. Well, first of all, the ownership, because people always ask us who owns the hall. And the hall is owned by a group called the Ames Memorial Hall Association, and I'm a part of that. And it was formed in 1881. We're now a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. And this was set up under the terms of the 1881 gift in trust of the hall to the town for its use by, as they said, quote unquote, the good inhabitants of Easton. The next question is who is Oaks Ames? Oaks Ames was without a doubt Easton's most famous citizen. He was an Easton native, a congressman, and he was also, when he was in Congress, he was the driving force for the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad. So he was a significant person in American history. Now, the hall was given by 2 of Oakes's sons. One was Governor Oliver Ames, and the other was his eldest brother, Oaks Anger Ames, who built the Quesset House, which is right behind the library. And he was also president of the Shovel Company. Now, another question you would never think would be asked is, where is the hall? Well, it's in the historic Northeastern Village. It's next to the Ames Free Library, and you can notice our arches are lit up at night with those nice light bulbs. And the building, the site selection, landscaping of the grounds, the design for the monumental front stairs was done by the architect's friend and collaborator, Frederick Law Olmsted, who was the designer of New York's Central Park. Now, the architect, Henry Hobson Richardson, lived in Brookline, and he did, as Priscilla said, he did a number of buildings in Easton, and I think Easton has more Richardson buildings than any other town in the country. So, and again, yeah, in its time, the hall was considered one of the 10 best buildings, this is by architects, one of the 10 best buildings in America. Now, the purpose of the hall has really stayed the same throughout its whole existence, and that is a place for the community to gather for social, business, town, and cultural activities. And recently, we are proud to be the Performance and Events Center for the Easton Shoveltown Cultural District. And we encourage the use of other nonprofits to use the hall. And all town government usage is free. And thank you. I hope I didn't go on for too long, but that's my spiel.
Well, thank you, Fred. That was wonderful. Yeah, we all, I'm a townie, so I grew up here, and I remember this building from my childhood. And in those days, when we went to the Ames Free Library, we walked up the steps to the front door and walked in. So these buildings have been around since the 1880s, and Henry Hobson Richardson was the preeminent architect in the 1870s. And the Ames family always hired the very best. As Fred mentioned, the Olmsted was the designer of Central Park, and he was the landscape designer here at Oaks Ames Memorial Hall. So, Joni, you are the rental agent, but you're so much more. Tell us a little bit about your job, what you do, and what sorts of events have been held here at the hall.
Okay, that's a multifaceted question. I think I'm only going to answer what I do here at the hall. But as Priscilla said, I am the rental agent for the hall, for the events, and what I do is I answer inquiries to the hall. We get a lot of emails, we get a lot of phone calls. I show people the hall. And then as far as events, we have a lot of weddings. We have private dinners, showers, birthday parties, business meetings. We run the gamut. And probably about 50% of our rentals are people from within the town. And the other 50% are outside of the town, surrounding areas.
So what attracts people to this hall, and how do they learn about it?
Mostly they learn about it word of mouth and social media. And I think what attracts people to the hall is, first of all, the beautiful architecture. And it's a unique venue. Cost is a very important consideration, especially somebody putting a wedding together. And our key point on that is we don't force, or we don't even have any packages for someone to use. They come, they rent the hall, we supply all of the tables, the chairs, we set it up for the guests, but we don't force them into using any specific caterers. We have a licensed kitchen with the town, which is very important. A lot of our guests like to come in, use the kitchen, prepare for their festivities. So you really don't find that anywhere else around here.
And I understand that people have been delighted, absolutely delighted, with the event. And part of it is your attention to detail, Joan. So I know you come and you're present, and I know that you even clear tables and do all kinds of other things to speed along the process so that the family doesn't have to do it and they can just enjoy the event. Is that correct?
Well, I don't want to mislead anybody. I am here for the event. I think it's important just to make sure everything runs smoothly. Somebody has taken the time to choose the hall for their special event, whether it's a wedding or it's a baby shower or a birthday luncheon. You want to make it perfect for them. I have been known to clear some tables and certainly to help out, but not my main function here at the hall, but happy to pitch in where I can.
Yes. Okay, we don't want to give you a permanent job there.
No, do a good job, you get to keep it. No.
Okay. Now, there are, Fred, there are different rooms to rent. Each has a different price tag, and so you have a lot of possibilities according to the size of the event and also the glitz, because upstairs in the big ballroom are these magnificent stained glass windows that surround the hall. And I assume those are for large events, and then, so describe the other places that people can rent besides that beautiful upstairs, huge.
Well, I'm going to defer to our rental agent, who is much more eloquent.
That would be me.
And knowledgeable on these things. So here's Joan. Here you
Okay, I'm going to address first pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, downstairs we would have a maximum capacity of 80 guests. Upstairs, we would have had a maximum capacity of 180 to 200, depending on how we would set the room up. As you all know, we're now dealing with COVID, so we have restrictions on capacity. Our capacity, whether it's down here or upstairs now, is at 25, and that's maximum 25. So If you're having a catering service come in and there's servers, that is worked into the 25 number. Additionally, and I hate to say it today because it's snowing and it's a little chilly out, but the outside is based on square footage and it can go up to 50 people. So we've had events here with 75 people for a wedding reception, 25 inside the building. Throw those doors open. When we take a tour, I'll show you what I mean, out onto the loggia, and people would spill out there. Now, what people have also done is rented propane heaters, and that makes a world of difference outside, particularly on a day like today, and they're very cost effective. We've found a place that we can tell people where to go and rent them for under $50.
Tell us a little bit about the kitchen facilities.
Yeah, we have a wonderful kitchen, which I think we'll take a peek at, but we have a 10-burner gas stove, professional stovetop with double ovens. We have 2 refrigerators. Great kitchen. We've had many wonderful chefs come in and use the kitchen. But as I said, it's licensed, and that is the key for somebody to come in and do their food prep.
So any other comments about, Fred, about your satisfaction with the way things have gone in the rental of this building?
Well, yes, we've gotten a very nice group of renters. Joan has been working hard to, expand the business. We have during the week, we have lots of time available, and we would hope that business groups might be interested in using the hall for meetings. And we do have some specials, which Joan can talk about. But again, it's going fine. We're in the looking to increase business, but we think we've got a very nice facility here, and we want to keep things going. So.
Yeah, one of the specials I'd love to talk about that's very timely right now in the time of COVID is the holidays are going to be different this year, whether it's Thanksgiving or it's Christmas, to get together with your family and friends, and again, keeping it a maximum of 25. But rather than having those guests in your house and worrying about space, use our house. I mean, there's a lot of space here, up to 25. But if somebody wanted to have a holiday gathering, our special is a Friday night, and the price for that would be $500. Again, kitchen's available. We supply the tables and the chairs. And on a Saturday night, that rate would be $700. But it's a nice special if you want to have a party and don't have the space, or you don't want to use your own house.
So we're going to have a tour of the building, and Joan and Fred are going to tour the building and explain the different places and rooms and so forth, and perhaps some of the architecture as well. So we will turn it over to the tour. And I want to thank you so much for being here and participating in Community Forum and allowing us to see this beautiful building and to know it's available for holiday parties, for Sweet 16 parties, for bridal showers, baby showers, weddings, you name it. Come up with something creative. And Joan and Fred will be here to serve you. Okay, thank you again. Fred Ames, Joan Ludgrin.
Thank you. Just in closing, our phone number is 508-238-9995. Leave a message. I'll get back to you the same day. Arrange a tour of the facility, see what you think, or you can email us at info@oaksameshall.org.
Thank you. That's exactly what I forgot.
Yes, and just in closing, it's OAKES.
Good
Everybody
catch.
thinks it's the trees, but it's not. So anyway,
Yeah.
thank you.
And the website is?
oaksameshall.org.
Okay, so you can take a look there and see all the pictures and get more information if you need it.
We're also on Facebook and on Instagram, and there's a gallery of photos. You can see how the rooms have been set up when people have had events. And this table we're sitting at right now is one of the tables we use for the events. It's a 5-foot round table. We also have 6-foot long rectangular tables. In this room here, before we start the tour, this anteroom a lot of times is used if somebody's renting downstairs. We'll set rectangular tables in the room for a buffet. Just wanted to
Great.
bring that up.
Yeah, this is perfect table for parties, for wedding receptions and so forth. Yeah. Okay, so you have everything here. You don't have to rent the tables, but you do have to pay the fee.
And bring in your table coverings.
Because this is a trust, and Fred is a trustee, as well as some other members of the family. In order to keep it up, it's a building that was erected in 1881, and so, as you can imagine, has a lot of constant upkeep, and repairs and maintenance cost money. And so by offering the facilities to the public is one way of underwriting those expenses. So we thank the public, we thank the Easton residents, and I'm sure that next December you will be here for the Lions Holiday Fair. Hopefully we'll all be safe and healthy and vaccinated by then. So this is Priscilla Almquist-Olsen thanking all of my viewers for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed the program as much as we have enjoyed presenting it to you. All the best, stay well, stay safe. Okay.
Thank you. If you're having an event and you're using downstairs, as I said, pre-COVID, 80 people. We're now talking 25, but this room is part of your rental, and a lot of times this room will be used to set a buffet up. The sideboard, a lot of times, will have desserts on that, particularly a wedding cake. And one thing I didn't mention before, all events run for a maximum of 5 hours, and they must end by 11 p.m. at night, which I believe is, the town imposes the 11 p.m. And then you also have 4 hours prior to your event to come in, bring decorations, set up, etc. So this room would be included, and I'm going around the corner here, and this is the gallery hall. This room is part of the rental as well, and this is the gallery hall. And the table that we saw in the other room with the pink tablecloth, those are the tables that would be set up in this room, along with, as I said a couple of times, we have 6-foot rectangular tables as well. The stage that you see at the front of the room, a lot of times this wouldn't be applicable right now because there's no dancing, but in the past when we've had events, would have a DJ up on the stage if somebody has hired one. A lot of times the bride and the groom will sit up there, and this antique cart, I don't know how long it's been with the hall, but nice touch. People use that, put a cloth on the bottom and set up gifts or I don't know, that'll have to be edited too because it just lost my train of thought. But this is a beautiful room. Okay, we'll go back here. And then we have out here in the hall, again, if you're renting the first floor, this would be part of your rental as well. And we've had guests who've had us put tables out here. They might display photographs or gifts for their guests.
Okay, I'd like to just talk a little bit about the progress over the years, the architecture. Really the most interesting is looking at the outside, but given that we're in sort of an unseasonable snowstorm right now, that'll have to be another video. But this is an interesting room to start in. This great building did not really have any storage space, so we had to create it. We chopped this room in half. And when I started here, 1979, things were quite different. There was a drop ceiling, There was shag carpeting. All the walls were painted white. And this was not really to save the hall. It was in very bad shape. And although we could sort of be dismayed about how it looked back then, it was really what got people in the building. So we owe all those people with the shag rug and the drop lighting our thanks, keeping the hall going. And if you look over here, you can still see a notch in the window up near the top, right in the wood. And I asked the carpenter to leave it as a historical note, and that's where that was notched for the metal track, the drop lights to go in. So that's where that was. And again, there was shag carpeting and really no storage. So this you can see as you look around the room, there are a lot of items that have been donated. The candle, the sconces, the mirror, the sideboard, and also the photograph is by Eric Lothrop. Priscilla goes well with it, doesn't she?
She does. She looks
she
great,
really sets
and especially
it off.
with her Eastern mask.
She sets it off nicely. Yes, but so this is it. There's been a lot of work in this little room. Oh yes, and the rug was very kindly donated by a trustee. But again, this is a nice, comfortable little room. This is where the trustees meet, our monthly meeting. Oh, actually we don't, excuse me, we're on Zoom now. But this is where we used to meet and hope to meet again. And let's go, take you into this room, which also has changed quite a bit. Now this is, as Joan probably said, the most popular room in the hall. We rent it out a lot. And if you look up at the chandeliers up above, those are copies of the original. The only thing different, of course, is the drop lights were added. The down lighting was added. And this was done by New Stamp Lighting up on Bay Road, and they very nicely did this for us for no charge. So we're very, very thankful for that. And this is a speaking stage, and this was completely covered. It was blocked. There was a wall across that, a temporary wall with drywall. And the reason, again, was had to do with bathrooms. They had to add a men's room because of the Board of Health requirements. And what we did is we took down the wall that was here, and we moved the ladies' room into that room we just came from there, where that storage space was. We added it in there. Now, there's an interesting story on Cousin Blanche, who was in charge of the hall then, when they put in these bathrooms. And you can see here on the floor, if you come over, there's some black stains, which is where the wall used to be. Because I was involved in the demolition, where the men's room was, and the ladies' room. The ladies' room was on this side. It had two windows, a nice sort of lounge area. That was the toilet area in there behind the door, separate. And over here, I think it's about, I don't know, maybe between 4 and 5 feet wide, was the men's room, and which of course didn't have a window, and you had to sort of back in, really, it was so small. And there was no cold water, and somebody mentioned that to Blanche, and she said, well, that's not a problem, men don't wash their hands. So anyway, little stories like that. So this is a very nice room, because you can have a small group or a large group, and it can really make both, the small groups don't feel too small, and it holds a lot of people, a lot more than you'd think. And again, people really like the warmth of this room, the character of it. So, well, let's go to the hallway. I love that Blanche story.
You know who that's from?
Oh yeah, the memories linger, right? Anyway. Did you mention we're Wi-Fi enabled and all that?
Oh, no, I did not. Good point. Oh. Let me get out of your shot here.
Now we're in the hallway. Now, none of what you see is original as far as the colors or the carpet, any of that. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to find any shots of the original interior. So this is all sort of guesswork. The overhead chandeliers are actually sort of colonial Williamsburg, so they're not not exactly the right period, but they seem to go very well in the building. And these walls and everything was all painted white. In fact, this lovely woodwork was painted white, was scraped, as was this big arch here. And a friend and I spent one winter sanding down this arch, and it was every time I look at this, I can see all the white specks. You probably don't see them, but having been about this inch from it for weeks, I know exactly where the ones we couldn't get are. Here's a good photo of Oakes right here. I don't know how well this is going to work with the glare from the outside. But again, he was a very significant character in the middle of the 1800s, and specifically for the Transcontinental Railroad, very deeply involved in that. And his brother Oliver was the president of the Union Pacific Railroad during that time period too. So, but he stayed at home in Easton. Oliver didn't go down to Washington. Now over here, this is interesting. This used to be the coat room. There wasn't any kitchen here originally because people were within walking distance or short distance. And this was a cloakroom, and it's got the little thing down here where you've got your ticket or whatever, and this was a screen, and the person behind there would do that. So that has changed. And here is a photograph of Richardson. When he was very young, he was in architecture school in Paris, and he was always known, he had a thing called Bright's disease, so he got to be very big, like over 300 pounds. But this is a rare photograph of him, quite slender, probably during the time of the Civil War, because you can see he has sort of a stovepipe hat. And so again, a slim young man. The stairs also were changed. Not originally, but from the 1960s in the drop ceiling era, these stairs were carpeted. So we took out the carpeting and refinished it. And this will lead us up to the big hall upstairs. And I think one interesting thing architecturally is if you look up at the top of that window, you can see where the ceiling sort of comes in, sort of down into the window. And that is really, I guess, the case where the outside doesn't match up with the inside exactly. So, something I didn't notice for years, and finally someone pointed it out to me. So, well, let's go upstairs. So, again, we're on the second floor landing, and right behind there, we'll just take a quick peek, is the tower. And we've recently done a lot of work on that, repainting it. And again, there's a lot of work that goes on in this building. And this is finished. It looks quite nice. We had to redo the ceiling. We had to do the walls. The windows were done a little while ago. But again, the stairs still have to be done. So there's always a project either underway or in the planning stage. Now this is paneling actually from Sears Roebuck, again in the original restoration. And we just painted it a very sort of Richardson-looking red, and it's been quite effective. Nobody really notices that this is, Sears paneling. So. Well, we don't know what's behind it, and we're sort of, we're not really in a big hurry to find out, but no. Anyway. And this, as you can see, is our largest room, very large. It's about 57 by 47, and as Joan said, this can seat maybe 200, 180 to 200, and if we do it auditorium style, we can get about 250 people in here. And this has been the scene of lots of parties, lots of wedding receptions, lots of music performances. The acoustics are quite good. We had Bose come out here, and they engineered the space, put in the appropriate amount of sound dampening. And recently we redid the stained glass windows, as you can see. They're really quite a sight to see when the sun hits them. In the morning, that's east, and in the afternoon on the west side. And they're all uniform, and that really makes a much bigger impact. Over the years, they'd been repaired at different times in different ways, and it was sort of a hodgepodge. But now, with with a private donation, we were able to restore these windows to their original size. Excuse me, their original condition. So, again, this was an old stage. It was done before electricity. In fact, there was limelight that was used. I like to show people this. This is a trough, a metal trough, where the limelight was placed. I think there were limelight lanterns. So again, this was your stage lighting down below. You know, people, what do they say? People that like attention, you know, like the limelight. So this is where you'd come right to the front of the stage and be in the limelight. So, but again, this is a very good space for performances. Again, the acoustics, the music, and singing. It's really not a bad seat in the house. So, all right, now we're gonna take a look from the stage out into the hall, and it's pretty dramatic. Here, I'll hold the curtain open for you. So again, it's a beautiful space. Proportions are nice, a nice high ceiling. Again, it's just a very welcoming room, even despite its large size. And later we'll go, next I think we'll go up and we'll take a look at the painting. See what you think of that, boys. And there is the large painting you see over the door there. It came from New York City. Ames owned a theater who's John Wilkes Booth's brother, who's a very famous actor, and Oakes helped underwrite a theater he had down in New York. And when Oakes died, his son, the governor, went down and picked out this painting, which just happened to be at the time when this hall was being finished, because it's a perfect size for the space. And so you've had, I don't know if anybody remembers Sarah Bernhardt, but she was a very famous actress. And her first performance in that was below this painting down in that theater in New York, which was quite large. It seated 3,000 people. But we're glad it's here. It's actually 4 canvases that are put together to make it look as one. And I'll give you a brief description of what's going on in the painting. This was painted in France in about the 1850s, and the original was much smaller. Now, if you start on the left with these figures, the leftmost figure is Greek poet Homer, and you can tell because he's blind, he's being led by a little girl. And the next identifiable person is Dante, the Italian poet, and he is in the long purple robe, sort of halfway towards the center stage. You can see him. Now, there is a bench in front of the stage with some children on it, and the man at the end on the right is Socrates. And to the right of Socrates, you see a man with a red sash, and that is Alexander the Great. And behind Alexander the Great is Mars, the god of war. And behind Mars, I don't know if you can see it clearly or not, is a woman with sort of snakes coming out of her head, and that is Medusa. And then behind Medusa is the army with their spears. Now, to the right of that, holding up a lantern, as you can imagine, is Diogenes. And Diogenes lived in a barrel. And you can see in the lower right corner there is his barrel. Now, the figures at the very end, there are 3 of them, and they look, I think one represents music, the one in the middle represents theater, but the figure in the end, the third one in, really, we don't have a clue what that is. So if anybody does know, please let us know. Now, the story of the painting is in that center stage, and there is a woman with a spear, and she's in the right portion of the stage as we look at it, and that is Athena, who is the goddess of reason. And there is a figure, sort of a cherub, that's sort of falling out of the stage, and that is Bacchus, the god of excess and wine. And the one that's being hanged, the figure there, dangling from above, that is Eros, or Cupid, for love. And the moral of the story is, if you are to have a good life, when you are young, you must overcome your sexual desires. And when you are older, you must resist your lust for power. And that is the lesson, as all the wise men here of history are attesting, to the good life. And it was quite something to get up there, because there's another, oh gosh, 10 or 12 feet on the other side of those lights. So it was quite something, scrambling up there, up the scaffolding. But it was really nice. It came out very well. The colors, nice lighting at night as you see it when you drive by. And that's the hatch to get up to the very top of the tower. So anyway, again, we're pleased. This project took several years to get done, 2 or 3 years, but it was definitely worth it. So again, progress comes slowly, but it does come. So that's what we spend most of our time doing, is getting things back in order. Our goal is to get the building as much like it was in 1881. So we will get there. Now,
This is our beautiful loggia.
Joan, should we do this together? This is the loggia, or as the front porch, as it's sometimes known. And Joan, how do you see this being used?
Oh, it's beautiful. In the good weather, we have high top tables out here, and it's used myriad of ways. Cocktail parties out here as part of the rental inside. Also, we've had a lot of weddings out here, and they've used the steps to come up, have the wedding, cocktail parties, then go in the hall and have their reception. Beautiful. And we used this quite recently with those space heaters that I talked about. I don't know if I would recommend it today, but it worked out very well. It was very nice.
And you see they're nice carvings here. Nice stonework carving. And here are the lights that Gad mentioned about the arches. You see when you drive down Main Street, these 5 arches are lit up at night. Quite a nice effect.
Those lights were put up last year by the Eastern Lions for their Christmas festival. And we had several events after that. And the people would say, oh, I love those lights out there. Don't take them down. So the hall made the decision to keep the lights up. And as Fred said, it was very, very pretty at night.
Yeah, and I'll get a still of that, of the lights at night. So.